Hi, loves. Welcome to a new episode of the AW Confidential podcast. Today's guest is no stranger to the big and small screen. Actor Daru has appeared on Chicago Fire, The Rookie, The Morning Show, This Is Us, also S.W.A.T, and there's a bunch others that I won't get into because we don't have enough time. But he's also had roles in The Gray Man and Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Currently, you can catch Joe on Peacock's crime drama Long Bright River as Detective, is it Danjarat?
Danjarat, yes.
Ah, and I did binge it. Hi, Joe.
Hello, thank you for having me on.
Thank you for being here. It's probably not the show you want to binge all in one weekend. It's it's tense, and like we talked about earlier, it's very gritty.
Mhm.
Thank you for being here with us today and just having a little chat about the show. So, Long Bright River, the backdrop of the show is Philadelphia's opioid crisis. It's tough to watch. It's very gritty, and at some points during the entire series, it's really raw. Um the US continues to fight this battle of, our addiction crisis, and the series does a great job of giving us the realism behind it. What was it like for you working on a project of such strong subject matter? I mean, it had to be, I think the content can be grueling for us watching, but how about for you that you're actually in it and you have to portray these characters and be on the set dealing with this subject?
I will say I've also binged the whole show, so seeing that definitely is. I would say it's a different feel. So I read the book, right? From the book to the script, there were changes, but when we were getting the script, they were going episode by episode. So I was kind of getting bits and pieces, and also most of my scenes were in the police station and doing briefings. So like the photos that you see and all that, it's a green screen. So I'm pointing at things. I don't actually know what I'm looking at when we're actually filming. So it definitely touched differently when I watched it compared to when I was giving the information on what was happening. So it's I think a cool to be able to see both sides of that. But
Wow,
when we
that
were doing it, most of my scenes are inside. I wasn't actually seeing any of the bodies. I was pointing, hey, there's a body here. These are the
wow.
names, but yeah, seeing it I think gives a different feel because I mean there's a
So
bit more connection.
and I'm glad you shared that. Thank you, because there's no way for us to know, right?
Yeah.
So while you're sitting there watching it, and like I said, I did binge it in a weekend. What impact did it have on you, or what impression did it leave on you as a viewer? Because I know for me it was hard. It just kind of made me think about, all the real stories out there that and the families that are going through this. But what did it do for you as a viewer?
It is an unfortunate, sad reality for a lot of
Mm.
people, and then also a lot of families who have to deal with family members going down a path that is not pretty. And
Mm.
so, I mean, I'm sure you go around any major U.S. city and you see it, and you don't really see many stories that talk about it. And so I think it kind of gives a different perspective into that. And it's difficult for the person obviously going through it, but there are a lot of family members who have to deal with a lot, and it's stressful. So I think they did a really good job of showing the relationship um, between the sisters and the
and
impact it had on everyone else.
and the fact that they're real people. It's not like you're watching, like this Hollywood production. I don't even think, I mean, I'm sure there was some of it, but even, looking at the characters, there was no makeup, there was no fancy, set. Um it was all very real, and it sort of gave you um a human aspect to it. You kind of, you imagine like this can happen to any family.
Yeah, and I think Amanda played it great. I mean, It wasn't there just trying to glamour up all the time. Like it was real gritty, um, a gritty character that she played. And I think like the showrunner Nikki, um, I think really wanted to set the tone with that, and she did a great job.
And I wanted to ask you about that. So I saw the whole season. The cast of characters, everyone is talented. Everyone is just has a contribution. What was it like to work with such a talented and strong cast as Amanda and Nicholas Pinnock? I mean, wow. How was that for you?
I will say this, and I know a lot of people probably say this. Everyone was super sweet, and I think
Okay.
the environment comes from the top, right? So like if your number one is very nice and open and kind, I feel like everyone kind of feeds off that. But everyone was very nice to work with. I did all my scenes with Amanda, a guy named Patch, one of the police officers, Dash. They're all working professionals. They've been in this business for a long time, So they're some of the kindest people. But again, it's like, okay, Amanda at the top sets the tone. I think also the showrunner Nikki, the co-creator Liz and Russell, who are the producers who are also on set every day, were very open and welcoming. And I think that creates a good environment to work in for sure.
Were there any lessons for you being on set with all this talent? And you're a talent yourself, but you're a younger talent.
Uh, I feel like each time you go in and you do scenes with different people, or especially being able to work on something for multiple episodes, you kind of pick up little things that actors do in terms of how they prep or how they present things. Like I would say, Amanda was in every scene, so this is one of the most impressive things is she's working every day, full days. So when she's memorizing lines and going through scenes, like you could only prep so far ahead before you have to work with what's going on that day. So there's days where she's sitting in the getting her hair and makeup done and looking at the sides and prepping what she's doing that day, because the day before she just did 12 hours and the day before that she did 12 hours. So seeing, like, she's obviously a top tier professional, but seeing how she preps and her ability to get the scene down, give multiple options. I feel like that's one of the big things that I appreciated being around like such talented actors, is seeing how many different options they give, and then you let the editor do their thing. You know,
I love that. That's awesome. Now you've been acting for a minute, right?
I moved out to LA in 2017. Yeah.
But this is your second career, I read, which ah I read that you had a very different career before being an actor as a professional baseball player.
So I played baseball. I was fully down that road, and then yeah, life and sports happens, and that were like with
Were you
sports.
like a pitcher or like a, you
So
know,
I played outfield. So I went to
okay.
a smaller Division I school in New York. Went played independent ball, and then played some international. My mom's from Thailand, so played with the Thai national team. So did
Wow.
like a couple of the Asian Olympics and the World Baseball Classic, and then yeah, I was fully in pursuing baseball. Center fielder, switch hitter. I could run a little bit, and then with sports, it's like every year the window gets smaller and
Yeah.
smaller for you to. My goal was to play Major League Baseball. Um, and so when that window started closing, I started thinking, man, what do I do next? And then on top of that too is our environment growing up. We moved every like 2 or 3 years. So my dad worked for the State Department. So the first thing when baseball came to an end was, where do I go? Because there's no like
But how
home.
but how was that transition? Because going from sports, which is like it's just very it's all, body work. It's your body is like a machine basically. And although with acting, I think you use your body in a different way.
Yeah.
But what was that transition like? Like, did you wake up one day and just get an acting bug?
I looking back now, when I was in middle school in Thailand, I used to take this filmmaking class that I enjoyed very
Mhm.
much. But I didn't think much of it because I'm like, I'm going to go to the major leagues. I'm going to make $1 billion playing baseball. I'm going to live happily ever after. But now looking back, I used to make movies with my brother, like with our little camcorder.
Wow.
And then in college, I used to, just mess around with all the guys, keep a straight face, but like bullshit them. And I used to fool everybody. And so I was thinking about it. I was like, I could bullshit people. I feel like I could maybe do this. And I expressed this to my parents, and my parents I was 24 at the time. I was like, hey, I'm thinking about like maybe getting into entertainment, acting. And my parents were like, Joe, you're young, you don't have kids, you don't have any student loans. Like, if there's something you want to do, this is the time to do it. We'll help you go get settled. So they actually helped
Wow.
me move to LA, helped me get settled. And yeah, I think the competition side of it, I love performing. I love, and having, a challenge and something to work towards. Because I don't think I was ready at that point to, hey, I'm just going to get a job and then I'm going to work it for 30 years and then retire. And that mindset did not excite me.
It doesn't excite a lot of people. It's more like, okay, I have to do what I have to do.
Yeah.
But you went, I mean, the thing is you went for it, right? Because you didn't have any experience as an
Right.
actor, but you also you studied, didn't you take classes and you went through the whole
Yeah.
professional training?
I would say the majority of what I've learned was from being on set. And I'll tell you, when I first moved to LA, I signed up for Central Casting. I did background for the first couple years of my time in LA, and I would go and I worked on hundreds of sets. But I had the idea, I was making a little bit of money doing that, but I was like, I'm just going to learn as much as I can. And then from there, I actually met a guy who I make a bunch of short films now. I met my creative partner on set, and we started shooting short films. So we're at like 25, almost 25 short films on YouTube. A handful of them have gone viral, getting over 5 or 6 million views across all the boards. Um, and so I feel like a lot of my um, acting training was from us shooting stuff and me being part of the editing process with my buddy Axia, and just trying to see acting from a lot of different points of views, because when you see it like from an editing standpoint, you see things differently from performing,
True.
and then from a directing, and then from a storytelling. So I feel like a lot of what I learned about the craft of acting was from shooting and being part of that whole filmmaking process.
You have you do these short films and you write and you direct. Do you act in them as well or you don't?
And most of them I do. There's been a few that I don't, but
That's
I have my creative partner Axia is we complement each other well. So when we direct, we both co-direct, and he, like, if I'm in the scene, I'll kind of have an idea of the tempo and the pacing that I want to do, but he understands. I mean, I'm not worried about framing or lighting or any of that because he handles all that.
oh,
He understands the transitions we're going to do to cut to the next scene. So it works well. If I had to focus on that and also act, it would be a nightmare. But
okay.
there's times when I adjust the C stand, I put the mic here, he's behind the camera, I adjust the light, and then we act, or we're doing the scene right away. So I'll
So,
tell you
if
what.
you had a choice between writing, directing, and acting,
Oh,
ah,
I think it's fun to do all. You
that's
know who
awesome.
you know
You
who
know,
Dan McBride is?
I've heard the name.
He did like Eastbound and Down, Vice Principals. Um, he basically, they live in Charleston, him and his buddies, and they do all these projects for HBO. And he acts in them. He writes some, he directs some, he produces. So to me, that kind of career
Um,
would be amazing, where you're involved. You have a team of people working with you, but just having a little bit of say in everything is fun. You know.
that's so cool. As I was, prepping, I thought about all the people that have a hard time with one career and you have all these different things. So I think it definitely is possible to be more than one thing and to transition into different careers. I think, drive, ambition, determination. I think it takes a lot of energy, but it's doable, and you're an example of that.
I think you have to. And I will say, if I didn't make short films, and I made short films at first with the idea that I need a reel. So we would make dramedies. So I would write out a 3-4 minute scene, and I'd say this 30 seconds I'm going to use for my reel, and then we'd make a comedic twist at the end. Because if you just share a drama on YouTube, people are going to watch it and be like, okay. But if you make it funny at the end, people might share it, and
Ah,
it's easier to digest, right? So we would do this, and we did a bunch of short films where it was like with a comedic twist at the end. And then I would use those clips of the drama pieces to build my reel. And then from that helped me get an agent. And then that helped me get my first
wow.
smaller acting roles on bigger shows. So after that, then I started getting footage. Then I started replacing the stuff that I've shot with the clips from shows. But I don't think that I would have had opportunities without that, because I have a bunch of friends here who are very talented, and I'm always curious. I'm like, man, why don't they work more? And I think that has that plays a big role, because if you're waiting for these big opportunities, but they want to see that you've done something. And yeah, that's what I'll
That's
tell you.
great advice.
I'll tell you a quick story. That I coach baseball here.
Oh, that's so
There's
cool.
there's a couple kids that have had no acting experience, zero. And one of the kids he's like 9 years old, 10 years old. He's like, Joe, put me in one of your movies, Joe. He's working in Atlanta now as a series reg. So he did a short film, right? He got footage. Then they started basically submitting him out. He got an agent, got a rep, started submitting him out. He booked a Chris Pratt movie that he did last year,
Ah,
and then now he's in Atlanta as a series reg on a show. And another kid, he's done like 4 national commercials. He never acted before. Did a short film. He did fantastic. Uh, but I feel like getting that footage, getting good footage, kind of helps you get that first opportunity. And yeah, I mean, you have to do it now.
I love that. Thanks for sharing that with us. So, best advice for someone who may be contemplating shifting careers or taking on a new challenge and they may be afraid of taking that leap? What would you say?
What is the worst that could happen?
I love that. I love that.
You know, um, I think about this a lot now. And I saw a quote from Fight Club where it's like people work a job they hate to buy things they don't need to impress people they don't like. And I think about it, and I think more and more, and as we get older, I'm sure have dealt with loss of life, right? Where you like, hey, this person passed away, and it's sad, and makes you think that that's the only guarantee in life, is that will happen at some point. And
Mm,
are you doing the things that you want to do? Obviously, I know, like, having a retirement program and like investing in the future, like those things you have to consider also. But yeah, I feel like living your life, doing the things you want to do.
I love
And,
that. I
and
lost my mom 2 years ago,
I'm sorry to
and
hear that.
thanks. And it was a wake up call. It was a wake up call. It's like it's now or never.
Yeah. And I mean,
Yeah.
like, you're doing this, it takes effort, it takes time,
I
it
want to
takes,
quit every other week, Joe. I
yeah,
want to quit every I'm like, okay, I'm not doing this. And it's a lot. It's a lot. But the love supersedes the love, the passion, the mission, it really does supersede the pain because it is painful. I think creativity is pain.
yeah,
just I don't know. And I don't think I'm the only one who thinks that. I
yeah,
think any creative will tell you, yeah, it's sacrifice. It's when they say blood, sweat, and tears, it absolutely is. For sure. For
yeah.
sure.
Yeah, you could also have a normal life and also do these things. It's not like you have to jump in and move from your hometown and stop all your relationships with everyone and then just jump in. It's like, I feel like being a well-rounded human really helps with the creative process, having real life experiences.
That's true. And talking about real life experiences. So, the unknown and the unfamiliar can be intimidating. And travel can be one of those things that forces us into these uncomfortable spaces. You've traveled extensively and you've even lived in different cities. How have your experience helped you grow into the person you are today? And there's another part to that question.
I will say a lot of it, to being accepting to it, is mindset. And I would say my parents did a really good job when we were kids and we'd move. Born in Thailand, moved to Washington D.C., moved to Laos, moved to Hawaii, started school in Hawaii, then moved to Barbados, then back to Hawaii, then Fort Lauderdale, then Thailand, and then went to boarding school in Florida and went to college in New York. So it's like every 2 to 4 years, 2 to 3 years, we'd move. Um, but the mindset that my parents had was always, hey, we're going somewhere new. It's exciting. You're going to make new friends. Um, and I feel like mindset's a big thing because people will bring this up when they know my background. And half the people will say, wow, that was really exciting, right? Like that must have been so
Yeah.
cool. You went to all these places. And half the people say, man, that sucked. You had to leave your friends. That must have been really difficult. And just from their answer, you kind of know
No.
how they would take that situation because their mindset already is either
Wow.
positive or negative. So I feel like mindset, really, really is such a key in that.
I love that. And how did all that travel have an impact on how you view the world? And it could be your internal world or the external world, but how did it impact the way your perspective and how you view
Yeah.
life?
I will say, um, everyone has different backgrounds, everyone has different norms, and when it comes to things, everyone thinks they're in the right. I mean, especially now, it's like you look at, when people have disagreements about things, it is very possible that both sides have valid points. And so, to me, when I mean, I know it's very, different political layout now compared to in years
Yeah.
past. But like to me, from traveling and having friends of, playing sports and in the arts and living in Florida and living in LA and living overseas, I feel like everyone kind of has a different background. Okay. They have different life experiences, and that's okay. And people prioritize different things, and that's okay. And not everyone's going to think the same. So I try to be very accepting to that. Um, yeah, and I feel like a lot of the people that I've surround myself with kind of have a similar mindset where it's like, okay, well, like people are people. Everyone's
Wow.
perspective. What's the perception is reality. So it's like how you see things. I mean, to you, you're right, and that's, yeah, it is what it is.
Wow. So, favorite place you've traveled and why?
Ooh, I gotta say, I love Japan. I love Japanese.
It's on my bucket
You should
list.
do it. You should
Yeah.
do it. Yeah. Do you like sushi? Do
I
you like
love sushi.
Japanese food?
Yes.
You should 100% do it. The people are so kind. It's so clean. The food, fantastic. I would, yeah.
Okay.
I
Okay.
love that
Well, it's
place.
on my bucket list. I'll
Do,
keep you
do a pod,
posted.
do a podcast in Japan.
That's actually a great idea.
Yeah. An
I like
excuse
that.
to
I like
go.
that. Thanks
Yeah.
for sharing that, Joe. So, one of the things that I love to do is surprise my guests with a question from my little
Oh,
mat. I've never seen the questions. I just pull one out and ask. Is that okay?
oh, absolutely.
Let's do it. Okay. Uh, okay.
It's all the
Let's
same
see.
question.
No. Ooh, this is good. I love this. What books on your shelf are begging to be read?
Oh,
I
I
have
got
a
a
bunch
lot.
of them.
I got a
Yes.
lot of them.
So do I.
Ooh.
Ah,
I feel like I have a lot of money books on my shelf.
do
Asking
you really? That's interesting. Well, it's a great time to read those, as you know.
like a lot of them are like on the mental side of money. I do have a lot of books there where I'm like,
Is
there's
there
one.
one particular that pops out?
Okay, I have one. Do you know the Savannah Bananas?
I do
Okay,
not.
the Savannah Bananas are basically the Globetrotters of baseball now. So it's been in recent years where, and the guy who started this league or these teams, wrote a book about it from the business side. So basically, it's very impressive, and they go out and they sell out a bunch of major league stadiums, but they do like tricks. And so like there'll be ground balls, there'll be a guy on stilts hitting. So they make baseball fun. Like if you hit a foul ball and the fan catches the ball, it's an out. So it's like little
What?
things like this. And somebody gave me the book. His name's Jesse, blanking on his last name, but it's a book about the Savannah bananas, and that's been next to my bed for months.
That's
And
interesting.
yeah, I need to just open it up and get after it. Now, books used to scare me because it would just make me fall asleep. But like
Ah,
working on like Long Bright River, I read that book so fast because once you know the characters, it's so easy to envision everyone, right? Uh, the money books I like because I'm interested in it,
okay.
But yeah, some books just put me.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. And you know what also makes a difference? Where you are, like the time of your in your life where you are, I think your interests change as far as books. Like right now I'm into books that are about self-reflection and figuring out who you are and being on that journey of, enlightenment and getting to that next level, like spiritually, mentally. So I just think it depends. I had a phase where it was just like trash love romantic novels or whatnot. So
Yeah.
I think it just depends where, what space you're in. That makes a difference too. So, Joe, thank you so much. I had so much fun with you. I didn't even get to ask you about tactical training, but maybe next time.
Next time. Yeah,
Maybe next time.
thank you so much for doing this. You're such a joy to speak with.
Thank you. Oh, please share with our listeners how they can find you and where they can watch Long Bright River, which I've already
Okay.
seen.
Long Bright River is on Peacock. All 8 episodes are out. I'm on Instagram, Joe Daru, Joedaru. And then also all the short films that I was talking about is on my creative partner's YouTube channel, Framed by Axia. Axia. So FRAMEDBYAXIA.
We'll make sure to
Yes.
include that in the notes.
Awesome.
And
Thank you so
and
much.
thank you, loves, for joining us on this episode of the AW Confidential Podcast. Talk to you soon.